brother Jason Black said, share. I have two channels. I'm looking at two monitors. Everybody's Go on channel 1. Everybody's Go on channel 2. Enjoy this. I enjoyed it the first time. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it the second time. Doing what the brother asked me to do.
A Black channel. It doesn't matter what the subject is. It doesn't matter what they're talking about. Somehow, some way, they're going to find a reason to bring it back around to what they plan to do to harm Black people. The Black channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting super fortress of intelligent Black thought. We are the Black media. And this is the Black channel. And I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically Black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, be forewarned, on tonight's program, we are fully stacked. Whole lot for us to take care of here, a whole lot to cover. Be sure that you share tonight's program. It is of the utmost importance. YouTube does have us under a shadow ban. We need your help to overcome that. They are not alerting people that we are live. They are not notifying people that we are on, because we are not white supremacists and we are not backstabbing, coon-minded individuals. So do your part. Liking the program is nice under normal circumstances. Sharing the program is what is critical. Please make sure you do that. On tonight's program here, there are a bunch of things I can go over. There are a bunch of things I can talk about here. There's a lot I can cover. And we're going to do that, okay? We're going to do that. We are going to talk about the Asian crime bill. They're calling the COVID-19 hate crimes bill. We are going to be discussing that. So be looking for us to do that. Probably not going to get to that tonight. Not because we cannot, but because, I want to divide things up here. There's just so much I could cover here. There really, really is so much we could cover. I wanted to tell you all, thank you very much for supporting tonight's program on Streamlabs, PayPal, or Cash App. Thank you very much. Whitfield, thank you very much. I see you out there, and thank you for supporting tonight's program. It's very much appreciated, as always. You've been good about that, so thank you very much for your long-standing support, and to everyone else out there. I was going through articles, and this is one of the first things that came up for this week. On Fox News, they were talking about Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota. And this woman is at North Dakota. She is, basically what they're doing is, she's telling the Biden administration that she doesn't want them to send illegals to her state. Because the Biden administration, of course, in their attempts to dilute the Black population, they're making sure they spread these folks everywhere. They don't want to dump them all off in one place. They want to spread them everywhere because you got Black folk going to the Dakotas. So they're making sure that before Black people ever get there, that there is a ready-made population of buffer classes with white supremacist tendencies, hostile toward Black people, waiting before you get there. See, white supremacy is no longer waiting until Black folks show up and dealing with it after the fact. They're saying, okay, let's make sure that we got the game sewn up before you ever even arrive. So what they're doing is they're flooding the zone before you ever even get there. Well, the governor of South Dakota has made it clear that she is not interested in having that happen in her state. So they start off saying what they're saying here, and you can listen to the audio for yourself. Poor little pathetic old Laura Ingraham, mewling and whining into the camera.
Resettling illegal aliens in, say, Biden administration tries resettling illegal aliens in, say, South Dakota. Well, they're going to have to get past Governor Kristi Noem first. She tweeted, South Dakota won't be taking any illegal immigrants that the Biden administration wants to relocate. My message to illegal immigrants, call me when you're an American. Governor Noem joins me now. Governor, good to see you tonight. Now, how would this work? How would you enforce this?
Well, there is always a request made to the states where the federal government would put the request in and ask. And what I have determined by watching the actions of this president is that he is making America unsafe. These are people that are crossing our border illegally. We do not know who they are. Multiple news sources have told us that we have people on the terrorist watch list that are getting into this country this way, and they're not going to find a place here in South Dakota.
Are they legally required to alert you to this, since they say, and I've heard them say this before, Governor, that this is a federal authority. The federal government is uniquely, charged with doing this. So, we're going to resettle them where we think, as a federal authority, that makes sense.
They have in the past always communicated with governors. I wouldn't put it past this administration to do it very differently or do it in a way that they didn't have the authority to. Listen, from what we're seeing happen at the southern border and what we're seeing happen in so many of our cities, that this administration isn't shutting down, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to America, to the people that live here. And it's going to take governors standing up and setting down the rules on what's really going to happen in their states.
Well, so far, so good. Don't have a problem with any of this. So far, it sounds like a governor protecting the citizens, dealing with the jurisdiction of their state. Nothing unreasonable here. Nothing outside of their wheelhouse. Nothing outside of the state of South Dakota. All having to do with their business. So far, I don't see or hear anything that I have a problem with. But this interview segment was 4 minutes and 42 seconds long, and we're only a minute and 41 seconds in. So far, I haven't heard anything. Let's let them keep going.
Isn't shutting down. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to America, to the people that live here. And it's going to take governors standing up and setting down the rules on what's really going to happen in their states.
Now, speaking of governors, we're seeing these scenes play out again tonight. In Minnesota, your neighboring state there. Your counterpart, Tim Walz, is, again, dealing with a night of unrest. Or, a lot of people now thinking he brought this on himself after the way they reacted early on, at least last summer.
Well, ain't that it? You knew the turn was coming here. So first, they are discussing something that's actually happening in South Dakota, something actually has to do with South Dakota. Well, yeah, they started off okay, and sure enough, they take that as an opportunity to say, now, what are we going to do about these black people over here? I mean, take a look at how quickly that turned. So we go from talking about the Biden administration dumping illegals in South Dakota to, now, over there in the state of Minnesota, which you have no jurisdiction in, has nothing to do with you whatsoever, but what do you think about what's happening over there? So we are going to take this opportunity, and a white supremacist like Laura Ingraham, of course, is not going to miss a chance to do that. So you tuned in for an interview segment about illegals and ended up hearing about black folk for absolutely no justifiable reason whatsoever. This is a testament to how much they hate us simply for breathing.
They're standing up and setting down the rules on what's really going to happen in their states.
Now, speaking of governors, we're seeing these scenes play out again tonight in Minnesota, your neighboring state there. Your counterpart, Tim Walz, is, again, dealing with a night of unrest. Or, a lot of people now thinking he brought this on himself after the way they reacted early on, at least last summer.
Well, the people of Minnesota are suffering, and we're their neighbors. And we see a lot of them moving to South Dakota, frankly, to get away from that type of leadership. You need to have strength, make decisive decisions that are best for your people, and you need to support your law enforcement officers.
You need to make decisions that are best for your people. Now, the last summer that Laura Ingraham is referring to is after Minneapolis police murdered George Floyd. That's what she's referring to. That's the last summer that she's talking about. People, they see themselves as in a race war. Period. End of discussion. They see themselves as in a race war. You have Fox News, of course, which is the Gestapo. You have a sitting governor in South Dakota sending out all types of white supremacist dog whistles, letting you know that they are here to set up bulwarks and strongholds. And by the way, these are the females. Anyone who tells you that the white supremacist female is somehow better, the white supremacist female is not as vicious, the white supremacist female is not as evil as the white supremacist male, that somehow they're the gentler and you can cut a deal with them, you're finding out how dumb you are. Whether it's the black feminist, whether it's the buck-broken bed buck coon class, the bottom line is no. There is no reasoning with them. And the only thing that they want is your extermination like anyone else. Just take a look at this here. Understand that this is basically the girls' night out of white supremacists. This is the girls' night out. This is them together. And listen with the vitriol and white supremacist venom in which they speak about murdering black people. Take that into account. But just something has nothing to do with the state of South Dakota, and yet look at where they're going with it.
On at least last summer.
Well, the people of Minnesota are suffering, and we're their neighbors. And we see a lot of them moving to South Dakota, frankly, to get away from that type of leadership. You need to have strength, make decisive decisions that are best for your people, and you need to support your law enforcement officers. Listen, Laura, I did a national campaign recruiting law enforcement officers specifically to the state of South Dakota, because I want them to know that in our state they'll be respected, that we want them here to make their homes here and to raise their families here. We recruited hundreds of law enforcement officers from 41 different states, and I'm going to launch that campaign again. We're seeing so many law enforcement officers discouraged. They've spent their life in public service, and we want them to know that there are people in this country that value them.
Now, this is another white supremacist dog whistle. For those of you who have seen our best-selling documentary, Race War, Amazon bestseller, you will remember that Judge Joe Brown was talking about, and we see this, by the way, it wasn't just Judge Joe Brown. If you saw the documentary Bastards of the Party, which was about the Bloods and the Crips, that's a historic documentary, by the way, well-known documentary as well. Bastards of the Party talked about this. Judge Joe Brown talked about this in my documentary, Race War, about how the Los Angeles Police Department, and remember, this was in the early 20th century, so the Western United States was still new to being opened up, even at the beginning of the 20th century. California and whatnot, they haven't really seen their populations go up except in the last 100 years, basically. And the Los Angeles Police Department was sending out flyers and circulars specifically to Southern Confederate states, specifically to Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, recruiting for the Los Angeles Police Department because their police chief wanted individuals who knew and understood that the job of law enforcement is ethnic cleansing. And now this governor, Kristi Noem of South Dakota, she just told you they're doing the same thing. They are recruiting police officers from places across the country. That's for folks who don't understand and whatnot. See, if she had started naming states, it would have sounded different to you. Well, I'm recruiting police officers from Los Angeles. Oh boy, we know their rep. I'm recruiting police officers from Mississippi, from Arkansas, from Louisiana, from Kentucky, from Virginia, from St. Louis, Missouri, Ferguson, Missouri. I'm recruiting police officers from New York, because we all know New York has a very sterling reputation. So if she said it like that and started naming states, then it would register to you different. So she says, I got them from 41 different states across the country so that they understand. Yeah, she's grabbing individuals. Understand, she's not going to hire a bunch of black police officers. That's not what she's doing. They are not going to hire a bunch of black police officers. You understand, the class of 2021 of law enforcement in the state of South Dakota is going to be all mostly white supremacists. So what do you see here? What do you see and what do you understand here? What you see and what you understand is that on the one hand, you have got a federal government that is dumping illegal aliens from countries hostile to black people as the preferred new citizen class, dumping them by the thousands. And then you have a governor of that's what they're doing in South Dakota on the one hand. On the one hand, the federal government's dumping illegals who are hostile to black people. And on the other hand, you have a governor who is bringing in police that are hostile to black people. Notice she didn't say, when she talked about the illegals who are on the terrorist watch list, she didn't say that she was bringing in more police to make sure that they protect the citizens of South Dakota against terrorists on the watch list. Notice she didn't say that. It's only when the subject turns to whether or not you are able to brutalize and murder black people with impunity, all of a sudden she lets people know that, yes, this is a free zone for murdering black people with impunity. That you are living under the I'm white and I say so law in the state of South Dakota. It is I'm white and I say so. So an interview that started out talking about states' rights, and a state does have the right to keep non-citizens from coming to a state. Well, yeah, a state has the right to do that. So we can talk about states' rights. Now we're talking about the state's rights but when you talk about states' rights, it's useless if that state is not maintaining white supremacy. It's useless if they're not. And now the stuff about, you got folks running around talking about, there was an article in the Washington Post today about an America First caucus, which is saying that they want to preserve the Anglo-Saxon heritage of America. So this is white folk basically trying to say, well, if we're going to become a minority, I warned you all about this over a decade ago that they were going to, for the last 100 years, they have refused to refer to themselves as white. They're now getting back to referring to themselves as white again. It's now time to push an ethnic agenda openly, blatantly. It's back to saying white again. And along with that will come the demand to refer to you openly as nigger again. And I said that for years now, said that for over a decade. Said that in 2010. That's what was coming in the very next decade, that's what was coming. And now we're here. Now we're here. We're not on our way anymore. It's here now. You had a decade to prepare. We were the only media outlet that warned you in advance a decade ago that this was exactly how it was going to play out. And now here we are. Now here we are. Share tonight's program, people. Make sure that you share tonight's program. Very important that we do so.
And Governor Walz endorsed a package of these really radical police so-called reforms last summer, and it seems like this is the result. And we have this officer charged for, she's been charged with second-degree manslaughter. We still don't know much more about her, except that she was charged with manslaughter. She's a 26-year veteran of the force. But what's been solved by this community policing instinct?
Okay, now, first of all, this is ridiculous to ask Governor Noem this question. She's the governor of South Dakota. She's not the governor of Minnesota. How can she answer for the state of Minnesota how their changes in police funding are working out? That's the first thing. What the hell does she know? She's the governor of South Dakota. What is she? Is she focusing on South Dakota or is she focusing on Minnesota? What inside knowledge what knowledge is she privy to? That literally makes no sense to ask the governor of South Dakota what's happening in Minnesota any more than it makes sense to ask the governor of West Virginia what's happening in Nevada. What they would usually tell you is, I don't know. I'm too busy seeing about I have my own state to run. I can't tell you what's happening over there. I don't know. So just take this right here. So basically, this is Governor Noem acting as a Fox News right-wing white supremacist commentator. That's what she's doing. She is acting as a right-wing commentator now, not even as a governor. She has no idea what's happening or how their measures are working out in the state of Minnesota. She's not privy to any data. She doesn't live there. She doesn't have any feet on the ground. She doesn't monitor the states. She doesn't travel the states. It's not her job. She's not privy to any inside information. She doesn't know anything. But don't worry, white supremacists, remember, they don't operate in the world of truth. They operate in the world of lies and fiction, even though they know what they're saying is a lie. So it is simply about saying whatever, fabricating whatever fairy tale will stir people up. So she has no knowledge of it, so she will just make it up on the fly.
She's been charged with second-degree manslaughter.
By the way, did you hear Laura Ingraham didn't say this cop who murdered? Notice she didn't say that. She didn't say the cop who murdered him. Notice she did not say that. Didn't say that she murdered Deontay Wright. Didn't say a word about that. Notice how Laura Ingraham, the white supremacist, is wording it, but she's not saying the cop who murdered him. Just said a cop was charged with manslaughter. Didn't say shot him unarmed. Didn't say any of that. So just understand these white supremacists. And another thing here, I want you to take a look at Laura Ingraham. I want you to take a look at that because this is all types of white supremacist signaling here. In case you didn't notice,
Carrot nose cunt.
take a look at Laura Ingram's decrepit chest. There are some people who should be wise enough to simply exercise modesty for the sake of the world. Did you notice that she has a Christian cross there that is just gleaming?
He ain't got no titties.
They set the camera up. They set that thing up. They got their lighting arranged so that it's sitting there gleaming.
It might
I
be a
just want you to
dude.
know that. So when you hear Laura talking, just understand, yeah, they want to do this in such a way that we're talking about white people. We're talking about maintaining a white majority, certainly white majority control, regulating black people at the end of the gun. And of course, you got all the symbolism involved there. And the candy coating is just send the females out to promote the white supremacist line. That's the candy coating that it is being packaged in. That they will go out and promote the white supremacist line. So just understand that as you hear this.
Police so-called reforms last summer, and it seems like this is the result. And we have this officer charged for, she's been charged with second-degree manslaughter. We still don't know much more about her, except that she was charged with manslaughter. She's a 26-year veteran of the force. But what's been solved by this community policing instinct?
I don't know what community policing looks like to everybody either, what that definition really is. I think one of the saddest things I saw, Laura, was when that man lost his position for just saying that there is such a thing as due process.
Okay, Professor Black Truth already covered this to say the due process happens in the court. That is where you receive due process. Due process is in court. You're not sitting up here whining about it before. You've already been given your due process. You've been given your day in court. That is due process. But remember, under I'm white and I say so, anything that does not give them extraordinary abilities to victimize black people, well, that is seen as a problem. That's when you're going to start hearing weird talk. That's when you're going to hear them start talking to you crazy. That's when it becomes an issue. They feel like they're losing the ability to victimize you because remember what I taught you all, in their minds, it is not power if you cannot abuse it. It's not power if they're not able to actually abuse you. Any limits on their power are seen as a bad thing. Because if Black people have the ability to say, stop, you can't abuse me, you can't use your power to abuse me, white's powers will be limitless. And if a Black person can tell you you can't abuse me, well, then white power is limited. Therefore, abuse is a necessary component of it.
Looks like to everybody either
But what's been solved by this community policing instinct?
I don't know what community policing looks like to everybody either, what that definition really is. I think
Now, you hear what the governor said there. I don't know what community policing looks like to everybody. She's a governor. Now, all of a sudden, we've been talking about community policing now for decades. And all of a sudden, she's telling you she doesn't know what community policing is.
I think one of the saddest things I saw, Laura, was when that man lost his position for just saying that there is such a thing as due process. That's what we have to make sure that we are protecting in this country is people's ability to have due process. And we need to make sure that people who speak the truth and stand for it are defended, not removed from their positions. It's
right
when
now,
Governor Walz is enduring.
Yeah.
They are sitting here commenting on stuff that's happening all over the United States. You have a sitting governor who basically is auditioning for Rush Limbaugh's old position. And they're in positions of power. It's one thing if they were in limited positions, they're in positions of power.
Go ahead.
What Governor Walz is doing in Minnesota is tragic. It's harmful to his state and to his people. And I think that a lot of us need to call out the fact that leadership has consequences, and we're seeing it play out on the streets of Minneapolis tonight.
Now, this little alt-right scum bucket heifer is dropping all of the white supremacist code terms. Notice I've been saying it the whole time. Our people. Now she's saying what he's doing is harmful to his people. Why didn't she say what politicians have always said? The people. The people don't belong to you as politicians. You are the property of the people, not the other way around. But notice her and Laura keep dropping these specific code phrases, phrased in the white supremacist vernacular. They are our people, his people, not the people, our people, his people. You see how they keep doing that? Our people, his people. Law enforcement officers from 41 states. I don't know what community policing is. This was a white supremacist code conversation they were doing up here. Code after code. The only thing that she didn't do was flash the OK sign. That's the only thing she didn't do. But she was here to declare war. And I want you to remember what their focus was. She was not here giving her venom to the illegal aliens. She wasn't here threatening them. She didn't invoke law enforcement and people with guns on them. They saw an opportunity when the discussion turned the discussion to Black people so that they could threaten us. They used all of their white supremacist talking points and code speak for us. Remember who they see as public enemy number one. No matter what is occurring, no matter what you're talking about, when the terrorists attacked America on 9/11, 2001, they talked about Middle Easterners for a half a minute and then got back to, okay, what are we going to do about these niggas? And that is the way it always is. That is the way it's always been. They'll talk about everybody else for half a moment, but they're going to turn the topic of discussion back to us and what they're going to do about us and to us. So no discussion of, quote, fixing America is complete until you start discussing how you are going to harm Black people. When they get together in a group, it's not a complete discussion if they do not turn the topic to what they're going to do to hurt us. So they can't even make it through a discussion about illegal aliens in South Dakota, which is what they came on ostensibly. supposedly, allegedly to talk about, and it turned from them to what we're going to do about black folk. For our people, protecting our people. Well, you know, black people are citizens of the state of Minnesota also. What about protecting them? Oh, wait a minute. This is the race war. And Governor Noem is letting black folk know, if you're coming to North Dakota in large numbers, we don't want the illegals here, but we have murder. Murder is legal against black people. The illegals need to just be kept out. But for black folk, you need to be taken out. You need to be taken out. Got a lot more on our plate here tonight, brothers and sisters from around the world. We got a lot more to cover, so strap in, buckle up, get ready for the ride. A lot of things to take care of here. Please make sure that you are sharing tonight's program. I have to hammer on this because it is imperative that we do so. Overcoming YouTube suppression of this channel is imperative, and the only way to do that is with your help, because you can hear the things we're talking about here tonight. You will not hear Bowling Ball Martin or any of the old black media sit up here and talk about these things. They'll say nothing about it because they're here to help Joe Biden eradicate us on the one hand and Kristi Noem on the other. So this is what you can help us with. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has supported tonight's program on Cash App. My man Sheldon, thank you very much. Maurice Soul, thank you very much as well. I appreciate that. Angela H. and my man Eddie in every week. And Eve, thank you. And everyone who has supported tonight's program. Thank you very much. This is the Black Channel.
Within us is a powerful spirit, a God-given spirit. It's a spirit that empowers us to oppose demonic white supremacy. A spirit that motivates us to eradicate racist lies with Black truth. This spirit was alive during the rebellion of 1811. The spirit catapults us towards righteous justice. This is the spirit our opponents fear. Is the spirit of 1811 alive in you? Visit us at spiritOf1811publishing.com. Buy our novel, War of the Heart, on sale today at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Spirit of 1811 Publishing. Our story, our family.
Aliens descend upon the city and discover melanin. They notice the people. They exploit the people.
Why are you doing this to me? Because I enjoy it. And because I can.
What type of payment do you want? Do you see me? I have the best. I want the best. And I deserve the best.
Join us for the new drug you can find on YouTube at The Urban Gods, spelled with a Z, a channel on YouTube.
Hey family, what's up? What's up? I'm Master Trainer Solomon Pratt. I'm in here to change lives, thighs, and glutes with my products with the online training. The online training is very, very effective. It's convenient to work out when you're ready on your time. So it'll download to your app. You get 3 to 5 workouts per week tailored for you based off of your body type, your goals, your lifestyle, your experience, and also the equipment that you have. You're going to have the best bands, Solomon's Fitness World bands. He has ankle bands. He has booty bands and power bands that's going to strengthen, stretch, and change your life. Get your bands, use your bands, SolomonFitnessWorld.com. You the best.
She said she had a big fee. She had a parking ticket to pay off. That was around $300. And he said, okay, I'll help you out with that a little bit. So he intentionally tried to put in $30, but he fat fingered the hell out of this and put in $3,000 and sent the money off to her by mistake. And when he finally realized what happened, and of course he was messaging her, calling her, no reply. And after about 500 calls later and 10,000 texts later, well, He just realized she was all gone.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Glad to be back with you all here this evening, as we've got a lot of ground to cover here. So we are going to go ahead and do that. I want to see what I would like to talk about here next. There's a lot going on here. Why don't we go ahead and, while we're talking about ominous things happening out there and all, let's go ahead and cover some of the more basics here, letting you know what's happening here in the northern part of the United States, South Dakota, which is really just a belt buckle on North Dakota, is letting Black folks know that they are bringing in race soldiers for the purposes of threatening our lives. And down there in Texas, they're saying we can't hire police fast enough, so we need to deputize the citizenry to be able to do this. I want to thank my girl, Nicole's View. Thank you very much for this article here. Thank you to Nicole's View for that. Out of the Dallas Morning News, they have just voted here in Texas. They've signed off on a bill letting people carry handguns without a license. Now, we all understand what this means, and we all understand where this goes. This will not include Black people. If you are Black and you attempt to exercise your right to carry without a license, well, that won't work for you. That'll work for everyone else. Oh, sorry, that'll work for white folk and their approved Latinos. That'll work for them. But just like everywhere else that has open carry, you will not be, if you're Black, you will not be able to do so. If you are a Black person who's seen armed, you will be stopped, you will be targeted, you will be assaulted, and you will be killed. Now, that is what they will do with any Black people who attempt to exercise this right. The article says, Dallas Morning News, written by Allie Morris and James Barrigan. Dateline Austin. For the first time ever, the Texas House approved divisive legislation that would let people carry handguns in public without a license, delivering a major victory to gun rights activists and Republicans' conservative flank. In more than 6 hours of debate Thursday, several Democrats warned it would be dangerous to let untrained people carry a loaded gun in stores and on sidewalks. The chamber's ruling Republicans countered that Texans have a right to protect themselves. So in other words, they want to embolden the George Zimmermans of America. They're just letting you know that right now. Ultimately, the bill received final approval Friday in an 87-58 vote that fell largely along party lines. At least 7 Democrats backed the measure, according to a preliminary vote count. Dallas Representative Morgan Meyer was the lone Republican in opposition. Representative Angie Chin Button, Republican Richardson, was present but did not vote. Under the bill, anyone 21 and older can legally have a handgun, who can legally have a handgun, could carry it publicly without first passing the safety course and background check now required. About 1.6 million Texans are currently licensed to carry. Let me read the key part of this one more time for you. Under the bill, anyone 21 and older who can legally have a handgun could carry it publicly without first passing the safety course and background check now required. Now, everyone understands they're certainly not going to extend this to Black people. The police are going to continue harassing Black people, claiming they saw a gun, because under something like this, you basically should not mess with anyone who has a gun. That the police are not allowed to harass or question anyone with a gun. That would be the result of this. An officer can't just run up and say, "Papers, please." But if you're Black, get ready for that. Although in this case here now, you can't say "Papers, please." But guess what? Black people are going to continue to be assaulted and killed, with the justification being having a gun. In the chat room there, you're correct. It sounds like police officers. Yes, you're correct. That's what I meant by deputizing. You're basically giving police powers, but you would not give police powers to random people. This sounds like they're giving it to random people, but that's not the purpose. Another good point in the chat room, the police should oppose this law. Yes, very interesting how you're not hearing a bunch of police getting together to oppose this. I mean, weren't you all worried about guns all over the place? Aren't you worried about having, quote, a new Chicago? Isn't that what they're always talking about? There's guns everywhere. Take a look at Chicago. Why is it that the usual groups of folk where are all the gun grabbers and where are the law enforcement people worried that, quote, anybody and everybody can have a gun? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they at? All the groups that are usually trying to limit people's access to guns, and now they are deathly quiet. So what does that tell you? That tells you that this is part of their agenda. That's what it tells you. That this is the agenda. The article goes on to say the bill's author, Republican Matt Schaefer of Tyler. By the way, Tyler has long been a racist sundown town, as is much of America. But Tyler, Texas is a long-standing racist sundown town. Matt Schaefer of Tyler said people should not be forced to spend money and time getting approval to keep a gun with them, especially if they are fearful for their safety. Quote, this bill should be called common sense carry, he said. Law-abiding citizens need the ability to protect themselves and their families. Now, what this tells you is that they have too many black folk moving into Tyler, that so many black folk are in Dallas. Now, Tyler wants to make sure they make it very clear from the beginning that everybody is authorized and deputized to police black people, because they will not allow black folk to run around with their guns without a license, subduing white folk. Now, that's what will not be allowed to happen. You're not going to see a bunch of black folk out there doing that. That won't be allowed. The Republican-led push to further loosen gun laws comes in the first legislative session since gunmen killed 30 people in back-to-back mass shootings in El Paso and Midland, Odessa in August of 2019. In the wake of the tragedies, top Texas Republicans, including Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, seemed willing to consider tightening gun laws, but backed off after their party maintained control of both chambers of the legislature in November. Democrats largely decried the move. El Paso Representative Joe Moody said the day will be burned into his heart because the chamber voted to relax gun laws before doing anything to make sure current rules are enforced and dangerous criminals are not armed. Surrounded by other representatives from El Paso, Moody said promises to the families of the victims of that shooting have gone unfulfilled. Quote, I am so tired of the gun being worshipped like some golden calf and hearing all about rights, but nothing about responsibilities, he said. When are we going to do something? Let's be very, very clear. Those massacres in El Paso and Odessa, those are white supremacist massacres, if you all remember. Just had a shooting at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis. Another white male, another young white male, the police and the FBI have been called out to their residents last year. So understand, this is about preserving the rights of white males to kill and murder with impunity. We all remember these massacres. These were white males out here doing this. So they've made it very clear whose rights they are trying to preserve. These were white males running around killing non-white people. So this is a very clear signal to everybody that if you see a white man with a gun, you are to leave him alone. He is exercising his constitutional rights. He is exercising his state's rights in Texas. If you see a white male doing it. Now, if you see a black male, all of a sudden, mark my words, because it happens everywhere, these rules will not apply. If a black person is out there doing it, mark my words, all of a sudden, these new rules will not apply and will not protect him. They are going to treat him as if these rules do not exist now. The very law they want to pass, they're going to treat him as if it doesn't exist. Democrats in the chamber wore red ribbons to show solidarity with victims of gun violence. During the debate, they pointed to shootings in recent years in Midland, Odessa, El Paso, Santa Fe, and Sutherland Springs. The bill now heads to the Senate, where its fate is unclear. The chamber is dominated by Republicans, but Patrick, the chamber's leader, has not publicly stated his position on the bill. Similarly, Abbott has not publicly weighed in. Neither responded to requests for comment Thursday. The Texas State Rifle Association celebrated the House vote Thursday, noting that at least 20 other states have already passed some form of permitless carry. Quote, "It's high time Texas joined them," the group wrote in an email to members. Known as, quote, "constitutional carry," among supporters who say the government shouldn't block people's right to bear arms, the policy gained little traction in Texas until this year. Things changed when Beaumont Republican Dave Phelan, a past supporter of the policy, claimed the gavel and appointed another friendly GOP lawmaker, Hillsborough Rep. James White, to oversee the committee where it was heard. A Phelan spokesman demurred when asked earlier about his support for this year's bill, saying that as Speaker, Phelan wanted to foster debate in the chamber. Outside the legislature, opposition mounted this week from police chiefs, law enforcement officers, and even some firearms instructors. They warned the bill would let people carry in public even if they never handled a gun before, which they said could lead to deadly accidents. Now, folks, when they talk about, oh, there were police departments that were against this, understand something. I live in Louisiana. We heard nothing about that. We haven't seen anything of the sort. Usually what will happen is they'll get all these police chiefs will get together. They'll all get together for a photo op so they can show that they are united on something here. So no, they have not been, this has not been a widespread thing that they've been pushing. That is not what has been happening. That is not what's been happening at all. So don't let the Dallas Morning News fool you about that. Don't let them fool you about that at all. Now, as far as firearms instructors, I can believe that. I can believe that, but not law enforcement. We haven't heard anything like that hasn't been going on. So don't let them exaggerate, because that's not the case. They're talking about opposition mounted this week. Now, if they were doing something to protect Black people, the police departments would have been talking about it for months and months and months and months. Just keep that in mind. Quote, "Too many of our lawmakers are listening to a small number of extremists who want to make our standards for who carries in public an honor system," said New Braunfels resident Molly Bursey, one of several representatives from Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, in the House gallery Thursday for the debate. But supporters of the bill say the government should not create barriers to exercising gun rights guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution. Members of Gun Owners of America sat in the House gallery on Thursday with shirts that read, "Victory or Death, #No Compromise." Now, I'm offended at that one. "Our first concern is to keep the Second Amendment intact and withstand any attempts to infringe on it," said Kurt Norbert, 68, of Austin, who volunteers with Gun Owners of America. Norbert said that states which adopted similar policies had lower crime rates. Quote, "If one is truly interested in gun safety, they ought to support this bill," he said. So just understand, they are trying to cement white supremacy for the next 100 years, and they are making certain they understand that white supremacy's foundation is its economy and its protection is the gun. Everybody is in favor of protecting the Second Amendment except when Black folks show up. Philando Castile's Second Amendment rights were never protected, and they never are. When you are Black, no one seeks to protect your Second Amendment rights. When you're murdered by the police, no one mentions your Second Amendment rights. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. As lawmakers debated the bill, an interfaith group broke out in prayer as a protest against the bill. The group loudly recited the Lord's Prayer and sang Amazing Grace as they were escorted out of the House gallery by DPS troopers. Quote, this legislation enables gun violence, and we're here to make a statement against this, said Joe Casino, a University of Texas student who is part of the group. It's legal in Texas to carry a rifle or other long gun without a license, but people must be licensed by the state to carry a handgun openly or concealed. The process requires passing a background check, taking a safety course, showing shooting proficiency, and paying a fee. The bill would keep the license process intact for people who choose to get one for travel or other purposes. It would also reduce penalties for people who carry a pistol into a prohibited place, so long as they leave when they are asked. Okay, now tell that to all of the folks who want all the anti-mask people when they go walking up in a Costco. I mean, I want you all to think about this for just a few moments here. I mean, do you really want somebody like, you know, these two? Do you really want them armed with a handgun, disputing whether or not they should have to wear a mask? Would you really want that to happen? They walk into a place and ask them to leave. Would you really want these two to be armed at a moment like that? Is that really what you would want? Think about that for a few moments. People who refuse could face a $4,000 fine and up to a year in jail. Schaefer said he wanted to ensure people are not criminalized for making mistakes. Now, folks, when it came to drugs and they had an opportunity to criminalize drugs, they made it mandatory minimums. Remember that? Remember gun crimes. Now, if you do not leave and you have a gun, remember simply having a gun on your person has always been part of the gun crime statutes. Remember that? Having a gun on your person in the commission of a crime or an offense has always been part of the gun crime statutes. Don't be surprised when all of a sudden when white folk are going around armed and they sit up here and run afoul of this law, that all of a sudden that these don't get, these are not enhanced penalties because they have a gun. So just once again, understand the law isn't the Constitution. The law is I'm white and I say so. So I'm just reminding you of all these little nuances and details that ordinarily are supposed to be in charge of what happens. But just know that when this happens, and it will, just understand why white folk are going to be sent home with a slap on the wrist and told they don't have to do anything, but black folk are going to have guns drawn on them and SWAT teams brought out for the purposes of gunning you down. And no one will bring up the words Second Amendment rights. When it happens to you, no one will bring up the words Second Amendment rights. Schaefer said he wanted to ensure that people are not criminalized for making mistakes. But several Democrats warned the provision would force workers to confront people who are unlawfully carrying loaded guns in locations such as hospitals, courthouses, and certain businesses. Representative Jasmine Crockett, Democrat Dallas, pleaded for courthouses to be exempted, citing shootings in several of them across Texas. Quote, it's quite frightening as a practitioner that we can't even agree to protect our judges, to protect law enforcement, to protect victims that are trying to go to court and testify against assailants, Crockett said. Let me remind you all of something right here. White supremacists do not give a damn about laws, and they damn sure don't give a damn about law enforcement officers. The biggest insurrectionists you've seen in D.C. when Trump's people ran out there on January 6th, which, by the way, Laura Ingraham didn't discuss that the laws were not strict enough on protesters on January 6th. When Trump's people were out there, she wasn't complaining that they weren't cracking down on them hard enough. She had no complaints about the white supremacists out there. Interesting. She only likes white supremacist riots. Amazing. Amazing. But I digress. Actually, I really don't. They don't care about that. When white supremacists get together, the first ones they attack are the police. They target the police. They killed a police officer in the Capitol. They don't give a damn about police, and it's going to go even further. But whenever these things come up, just understand, they only invoke the police as a rallying cry to go after black people. But they don't give a damn about police. They never have. They never have. So don't let anybody sit up here and tell you that they're worried about police. They never have been. And they're not. They go on to say Republicans rejected those amendments and several others, with the fiercest debate over who should be excluded from carrying guns in certain places. The bill says members of, quote, criminal street gangs. Oh, so they did find somebody that they didn't like having a gun. Someone with an alleged street gang affiliation, because remember, there is no official roster of members of street gangs. So in other words, if the police say that you are a, quote, street gang member, well, that can do that. So you don't have to be convicted of anything. There's no way to convict you of being a member of a street gang. The bill says members of criminal street gangs. 2 Democrats sought to also include violent white supremacists and members of domestic terror organizations. Quote, if it applies to the Crips, it should also apply to the Ku Klux Klan, said Representative Diego Bernal, Democrat, San Antonio. Schaefer said there should be a policy discussion about that outside the bill debate. Oh, okay. So when they said that we should make sure the Ku Klux Klan, whose members we can identify, when you say that members of domestic terrorist groups, well, so all of a sudden these white, and they're only white domestic terrorist groups, all of a sudden they don't want to disarm them. So this could not be more blatantly white supremacist, couldn't possibly be more blatant. They let you know that all they have to do, members of the Ku Klux Klan and other confirmed violent gangs, that you are denied that. No, this is not about disarming the Klan. This is about arming the Klan, not disarming them. This is about arming them, not disarming. So just understand what this is really about. And this gives you a glimpse into the intent behind it. That's my real point. This gives you a glimpse and a little view into what is their intent behind it. That's the real issue. What do they really want? What are they really intending to do? And why are they intending to do it? So just keep that in mind. Down there in Texas, they're not gearing up for illegals. They're making sure that the supreme right of white people to murder with impunity is protected. That's what they're doing. We've been warning you about this for years now. A lot of folk didn't take it seriously. And you know a lot of them didn't take it seriously because they're still out there supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, although they done got real quiet in recent weeks about that. All the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden supporters, all of a sudden we can't find any of y'all now. All of a sudden you're nowhere to be seen and nowhere to be heard. And I just consider it to be quite interesting that you're so quiet now. You had a lot to say weeks ago, and yet, curiously enough, you've got nothing to say now when you had so much to say weeks ago. Maybe it's because you realize now you don't have anything good to say. The only thing you say is, well, we got Trump out. Okay, you put in something worse now. They don't have anything to say about it now. This type of foolishness and stupidity, that's what makes this possible when you do that. So as Black people from the north to the south, anywhere and everywhere you go, this is what we're up against. They are doing this, and notice another thing, you're not hearing the federal government saying anything about it. The feds aren't weighing in on it. They understand the purpose of this. They understand the goal of this. They understand the reason of this. The reason of this is to make it easier to do that. That's the whole purpose of it. That's their entire goal, is to make it easier for this to happen. Is to make it easier for this kind of thing to occur. That's what they're after now. And as Black people, we ignore this at our peril. That's the real point I'm trying to make to you. As Black people, we ignore this at our peril. We have allowed folk to fool us into believing that Nobody is out to get us. You're jumping around and dancing and twerking and other assorted foolishness. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is getting armed to the damn teeth. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is arming itself to the teeth. And they are only doing it where Black folk are concerned. So let's be very, very clear. You can dance around, you can play around, you can mess around, you can think you can do that. Let's just be very, very clear. The only people that you are playing that game with is yourself. The white supremacists are at war. The white supremacists are at war, and they are doing everything necessary to prosecute that war now. Everything. I've tried to do my part to educate. I've tried to do my part to enlighten people, but at some point, you got to understand what you're really up against. At some point. At some point, this is really what it is. At some point, you are going to take a look at it and realize they take every subject, every discussion is going to be turned around and transformed and turned into an opportunity to go at you, to go against you. They're putting this into force and into effect now. What do you think the reason is for? What do you think they're trying to do it for? What do you think their rationale is? Why do you think they're doing it? Why do you think that they're doing that? Do you believe that they're not serious? Do you think that they when they talk about making laws like this, do you believe that that's not what they really want? Or are you telling yourselves, well, no, that's not seriously what they want to do. There's no serious intent behind this. That's the question I'm asking. Are you telling yourselves they're not seriously, the threat's not that real? With Jason, what you're talking about, that's not really what they want to do. They don't really want to do that. No, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to me at all. They are taking every subject of discussion in America today and turning it to what can we do to Black people for it? What can we do to them? That's the only thing they're asking now is how do we turn every topic of discussion into an assault on Black people? How can we do that? We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines now. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933, your personal access code to the Black media. Tonight, we're demonstrating why that is who we are. Now, while you go ahead and call in here, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to tonight's program. Sister Tiffany Crouch, thank you very much for your support, sister. I appreciate it. It is very much appreciated, your support for the Black media and everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program here. I know everyone who does that, and I want to just thank you all because that's the kind of thing that lets us know that what we're doing matters. Over 120,000 subscribers, and we are rallying the troops now. There was something that happened here as well, and I wanted to talk about this. For those of you who have not heard here, the Daunte Wright Memorial, that was the young man murdered by race soldiers in Minneapolis there, and of course, Minnesota, and of course they were, Laura Ingraham, of course, couldn't cheer it on loudly enough when talking to Governor Noem. So, Daunte Wright, there was a memorial in Los Angeles, and if you go looking for that online, it's going to be hard to find it. There's a bunch of articles that talk about it and talk about there's a video of it, but they're not showing the video. So you go to these websites, I'm talking about like Newsweek and other ones, and they're talking about there's a video, and all they show is the aftermath of the candles broken and things like that, but they're not showing these suspects who did it. Well, I'm not the white supremacist media, and I'm not here to protect any of them. So here's the video from it.
We could have done worse. You look at them blowing out the candles.
Oh, good. You were lucky.
Social dystopia.
You have no respect for anybody.
Oh, really? Oh, dude, why do you have respect for the cop?
I don't care. I don't care to be Josh. I just lit a candle for somebody who passed away. It was murder.
Where are you from?
None of your business.
You grew up around here?
None of your business.
Yeah, I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am.
I guess I actually have a video of you.
Oh,
Oh, it's you.
Break it all up, destroy it. Right here where the corner was.
Excuse me. What are you doing? I know exactly who you.
Now, as you can see in that video, the people there, it looks like Latinos, whites, and Asians. By the way, for those of you who couldn't tell there, by the way, this Latinos, whites, and Asians. So your minority coalition has formed. I mean, congratulations. Your minority coalition has formed here. I want you to understand this. This is like Nipsey Hussle. There was some white Latina who got out there disrespecting one of Nipsey Hussle's. I think they were spray painting on one of their memorials. I want you all to understand that. That's not a game. That's not a joke. Now, there are articles saying that these were Trump supporters who had come into Los Angeles and were part of what happened there recently. But I want you to understand something here. As Black people, this is an act of domestic terrorism. I want us to be very, very clear about that. This is an act of domestic terrorism. This is an act of racist domestic terrorism. That is the point. And you do not respond to domestic terrorists by talking to them. That's not the way you respond to them. You do not protect the community and protect the people by talking to them. That is not what you do. When you see domestic terrorists, you have to neutralize the threat. In Texas, they're allowing folks to carry guns like that. Well, you don't need a law for that. But these are domestic terrorists. And this is your Asian minority coalition with Asians, and take a look at what's going on there. Now, they say that some of these folk have been identified, although it's kind of questionable. So like I say, we're still checking into that. But, oh, absolutely, this is a hate crime. Absolutely. Absolutely. But furthermore, this is domestic terrorism. Brothers and sisters from around the world, you understand how you must deal with domestic terrorists. When you have domestic terrorists, you don't talk to them. When you have domestic terrorists, you don't sit there with your camera phone recording. You turn the phones off, is what you do. You turn the phones off. But you don't sit there looking at them. You let the domestic terrorists know that you are here to protect the people from all enemies, foreign and domestic terrorists. You are here to protect the people. Notice I didn't say our people. You are here to protect the people. And when you demonstrate to them that that is what you're on and that's what you're about, then things are going to change. When you demonstrate that that is what you're on and that is what you're about, things are going to change. And that's what we should be doing. Now, another thing I want you all to notice is there were places they could have gone. You notice these white supremacists out there and they're acting like they're all tough and everything, but there are plenty of places they could have gone where they could have found groups of Black people. They go off and shoot up churches with little old ladies. They go off and go shoot up a grocery store. But if they really wanted to get some groups of Black folk, they are out there in the thousands in Minnesota and Minneapolis. They're out there in the thousands. It's not hard to nd a group of them. If these white supremacists really wanted to smoke the way they claim they do, why they could come get it. If these Asian white supremacists really were about that life, they would show up with some black folk on. Instead, they go and attack a defenseless memorial, is what they go do. So they go and attack a defenseless memorial. There are plenty of places where you can find black folk in groups right now. If they really were upset about it, why don't they go and attack the protesters? Oh, wait a minute. The protesters out there right now are letting them know they're about that life. So they've run as far away from Minnesota as they can be. They're in Los Angeles. They're as far away from South Central and Slauson and Crenshaw as they can possibly be. They are not going anywhere where they would encounter some black people. That's why you hear white folk holding the cameras. They are nowhere that they would encounter some black people. Nowhere. Nowhere at all. So just understand, white supremacy has one consistency. It is the practice of cowards. It always has been. The only way that they confront you is if they can get in the position to ambush you, take you by surprise. That's the only thing that they ever wait on. They will not look you in the eye and come marching at you from 2 blocks away. That is not what they do. It's not what they've ever done. This is the practice of cowards. And I am telling you that cowardice needs to be removed from society in general. But I also want you to understand, notice how the media isn't talking about Asian hate crimes in this instance now, are they? They're not saying anything about that right now outside of this website, outside of the black media. I want to hear about the Asian hate crimes now. Is this thing on? Can we discuss Asian hate crimes now? You know what? I'm all for it. I think we need to have a discussion about what's happening to Asians in Los Angeles, or what's happening to Asians. I would like to talk about Asians and violence. I would like to talk about Asians and racist attacks, because this is a racist attack caught on camera right here. Can we talk about Asians and hate crimes now? I'm all for it. I want to hear it. I'm listening. I want to hear it now. The microphones are on. Where is your news media to talk about this? I would like to discuss the Asian hate crimes now. I'd like to discuss Asians and hate crimes. I think this moment we can talk about it right there. There's a young Asian female there committing an act of racist violence. I would like a racist attack. We need to discuss this now. Shouldn't we? Shouldn't we talk about that? What we really need is some black folk on the scene who are afraid for their lives. That's what we really need to talk about. We really need some black people who are on the scene who could show up there and they were afraid for their lives. Because let me tell you, if I was there, I would be very, very scared for my safety and very, very afraid for my life. I'm just letting you all know right now. If I were there on the scene, I would be very, very afraid for my life. I would be too afraid to leave. I would feel I had to stand my ground. I would be too scared for my life. I'd be scared for my life, and I would have to stand my ground. Now, I would have to. I'd have to. I couldn't leave. I couldn't run. I would be too scared to leave, and I would definitely feel the necessity to stand my ground. I'm expressing my feelings on the fly here as I go along. But by the way, if I were there with these individuals, I would feel the need to. I would be too afraid to leave. I'd be too scared to leave. I'd be terrified, and I would have to stand my ground. I would have to do it. I'd have to do it. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines here. Let me get caller from area code 419. You're on live with the Black Channel. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Jim. I'm calling from Toledo.
Jim from Toledo. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my bad. Joe. This is Joe from Toledo. I always call you. Keep it 100, Jay. I mean, I ain't gonna front, man. You cover so many angles of your topics. It's kind of hard to respond. But I will say this one part, like you just said with that, with that thing they passed in Texas. Like you said, it won't work for black men, but you have already them saying that you had a gun, but you didn't have a gun, unarmed black men being shot. But now, if you have a gun, now they're gonna have a reason to perpetuate that lie. And then you push upon the fact of the Asian thing. You just covered it 100%. We're not hearing nothing about Asian attacks. And these multiple mass shootings, the numbers are astronomical for only 4 months into the year. Like I said, keep it 100. V1, I've been listening to you now for 10 years. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep it rolling. V1, Black First.
Black First, brother, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate your support. Joe in Toledo. Let me get a call from area code 504, calling out the boot. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Charles Jr. from New Orleans. I'm up in Pensacola, Florida right now.
All right, Charles Jr. from New Orleans. What's on your mind?
Hey, Jason, this has been a loaded week since the last time we talked. And what I got to say is you have a lot of black folks running from their blackness and trying to hide from it. Using anything from a uniform from that a lieutenant up in Virginia. You got this author right now trying to write a book talking about what white people should do next, talking about how they can become from allies to a coalition. And then I saw how Jonathan Capehart had on two women, Ashanti Galahar and Lynn Gwynn, talking about the Black and Asian Women Coalition. And this black people talking about how, there is no division between the Black and Asian community, and actually white supremacy that's putting all the minorities against each other, when it's really the white supremacists taking all these non-black communities and putting them against us. So it's just been a loaded week this whole week, and they keep on saying black and Asian women, because they already know that black men and Asian men don't get down like that. Like whenever the Asian women, they never come to the rescue of a black woman that get beat up in the nail salon or the hair salon, and it's always the brothers that go and put them in check. But then the black women, they don't want to take cues to be on some off-code language. So that's all I got.
Well, like I say, they're gonna promote that. That is the kind of thing that they promote. Jonathan Capehart and whatnot, you got to understand. Like I say, he wasn't chosen from nowhere. He's one of their trustworthy Negroes. He's more concerned about his white husband than he is about black people's survival. So you have to understand who you're dealing with there. And once you recognize that he's more concerned about his interracial sexual access and being oiled up than he is about black people's survival, then you understand, okay, anything that he says, that is your cue. That's not him talking. Be very, very aware. That's not him talking. That is his white bosses talking. He's just a mouthpiece. He's just symbolic, but that's them talking. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get a call from area code 281. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Prince out of Richmond, Texas.
Prince out of Richmond, Texas, brother. Well, now you got the ability to open carry out there, or at least you're getting ready to have it apparently, and no longer need a license. I'm sure that you will be having the ability to exercise your right to defend yourself.
Well, guess what I'm going to do? If they keep the concealed weapons concealed license going, I'm going to keep getting mine. This is to target young black men. And I'm going to tell you, young black men, if you're in a relationship with with women that are arguing and fighting and calling police, stay away from it. They're trying to make sure that you get sick. All you have to have is a domestic on you. You don't even have to have a felony where you can't get the concealed license. So if they can get anything on you at a young age, or if you're breaking up with a woman, don't break up in person. Break up over the phone after you've left. Because they will use sometimes our women against us, you see. And they out here, when they first did the open carry out here before now they're doing it because they got some white boys that can't. They have like 20 felonies on them, Jason. You know them old country white boys that have all the felonies, but they never go to jail.
Yes, absolutely. And they've been doing that for a while. So like I say, these rules will only be enforced on black folk. Only be enforced on black people. It doesn't matter how many times, if you're a black person here with this thing in Texas, they want to make it, criminal street gangs. They got their code speak in place, but certainly no, this is not about empowering black people who could potentially police white supremacists. This is about depowering you and making sure that you are disarmed. So absolutely that's what it's about. But you've given very good advice in that regard there. We need to be very, very aware. Our right to defend ourselves does not come from the Constitution. Our right to defend ourselves comes from the universe and the Creator. It doesn't come from people.
let me say one more thing, Jason. Gangs are not a big issue in Houston like people try to portray.
No, they're
There's
not.
no gangs that can control any territory in Houston. I grew up there with no gangs. We had neighborhoods, we had families, and you identify from the neighborhood you were from, 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, or whatever. Ain't no gangs running no areas nowhere here. Everybody comes from Chicago and everywhere, they just acquiesce and go along with the program. And so when they came down from doing Hurricane Katrina, that was the first group was great. The second group came down trying to run things. They very quickly got put in order. So what we need to make sure we do is don't get into no confrontation with these white guys on the road, because they shoot you on the road, guys, Jason. So they get into a road rage where they cut you off. You just keep your head going forward. Don't get into nothing unless you have to do what you can to go out and take care of your business to defend yourself.
Well, I mean, I would advise, I would not. Yeah, I mean, now that part I will agree with. I would advise you not to argue with them. You don't talk to white supremacists. You don't tell them what you're going to do. You just do it. Because black folk are real good with that with each other. We don't tell each other what we're going to do. We just do it. White daddy shows up and all of a sudden, what are these right here? We can talk to them. I mean, damn that. If they run up on you, you talk with your candy bars. You don't sit up here and have no discussion. You don't say anything. From the moment he threatens you, whether it is verbally or non-verbally, from the moment that he makes an offense, you are in fear of your life. From the second that occurs, and you respond accordingly. You do not take that lightly at all. If they threaten you with a vehicle, if they start taking threatening gestures, you're supposed to be ready from the jump. Remember, they told us that George Zimmerman was right for that. I had Jared Taylor telling me that was the correct thing to do. I got Jared Taylor on video telling me that was the correct thing to do. And I'm like, well, you know what, sir? Now I've had a chance to rethink all of this. And I think that, running around with a gun in your hand, maybe that is reasonable. Now that I've had a chance to think this over. But if Billy Bob is out there and whatnot, and he's threatening you with his vehicle or driving crazy or whatever, understand something. He can get all the smoke. He can get all of it. The barbecue smoke, the gun smoke, whatever. He can get it all. And I want black folk to start showing through their actions, not their words, but damn a talking to. No, don't keep your head down. You keep your eye on the white supremacists. You don't keep your head down no damn way. You keep your eyes straight on him and make sure you understand. You all need to, when you all go and get a firearm, you need to go to get firearms training so that gun is an extension of your body, so that when you use it, you are using it with proficiency. Because you are not going to, it's not going to be like a Hollywood movie and you get to sit up here and crack off 12 pops. It's not going to work that way. You need to make sure that the first two you send down get the job done. But just understand that's the way it needs to be. And the other thing is, remember, I'm from Louisiana, straight out the boot. Lil Wayne tried to tell you, I don't shoot back, I shoot first. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. That's how you deal with white supremacists like that. No, sir, I don't shoot back. I shoot first. Caller from area code 202. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, Jason. My name is JB, calling from the Washington, D.C. Metro.
JB from D.C. What's on your mind?
Yes, a couple points here that I noticed here. Of the checklist that has been appointed to us, actually come in the form of dealing with the hate crime from the Asian community. It had something to do with police brutality. Now, when I look at the Dante Wright situation, I noticed that the same officer that killed him also had the same situation with another, taser, and she shot an autistic individual. I noticed that the mainstream media didn't bring that up. So I'm looking at that factor. I'm saying, well, this week, we're going to deal with the police brutality at the same time with, the George Floyd situation. So we're seeing this in action. And by the way, when you prophesy, the fulfillment is coming up right now. So what we're seeing, as you said 10 years ago, is coming forth right now. So there's a lot of points to bring up. But I just wanted to say those two things right here is that, yeah, we are in I would say 100% full war.
Well, you cannot trust the white supremacist media, and I call them that because that's what they are. They are a white supremacist media. They are here for the purposes of forwarding the cause of white supremacy. They know why they're here. They know what they're doing. They know who they serve. They know that they are the propaganda arm of white supremacy. They know that. And that is why they've been trying to sneakily ease their way into it. And they try to soft sell us on white supremacy. So they don't just come out and say it blatantly, but everything they do ultimately ends up being against us. So that is why it's only going to be left to us. Only. And what they want to see is how many black folk catch on to what we're saying, which is why I'm posting what I'm posting. But you're absolutely correct about it. With all these police officers, whenever these things occur, you always find that these folk, it's never isolated. The media always tries to paint it as if it's isolated. That's the strategy they use. Oh, this was just one time, and this is just one incident. They're always a lone wolf. White supremacists are always lone wolves. It's always a one-off. It's always a one-time thing. It is never a pattern of behavior. Now, when you're black and you do something, they go seize your computers and your cell phones or whatever. You do something to the police. They don't do that with the police. And the media doesn't ask for it because the media has an agenda. And their agenda is to convince the society that white supremacy is what is best for you. And every day they get up, that's what they do. When we understand that and accept it, then you understand that the black media is all you have. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get called from area code 717. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Michael Freeman, calling from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Michael from Lancaster, what's on your mind?
Yes, I was just wanted to bring up. I was listening to you, and I thought about an article I saw in U.S. Today about this. That they had this thing going on in the military where they've been kicking out white supremacists, and what they're doing is offering them administrative discharges that leave no public record at all. They cited these gentlemen who beat a man damn near to death in Jacksonville, Florida. They were arrested, but the military kept their records closed and from public view. And so even the military are protecting these white supremacists.
Well, I mean, the military is a white supremacist organ. We don't understand. Timothy McVeigh and other people. Okay.
So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Don't talk over the host. The military has long been a white supremacist organ, and law enforcement is merely an extension of that. So it isn't like it works the other way around. Law enforcement and the military have long been havens. Timothy McVeigh, there was the video that's going around now about this guy in the military harassing this black man, young black man, because I'm not sure it's even a man, going down the street there. Just understand that the military is infested and long got them. So white supremacy is what the military is here for, the purposes of white supremacy. That's its entire point. Caller from area code 641. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is James. I'm calling from Marshalltown, Iowa, but I'm originally from New Orleans.
James from Iowa. What's on your mind?
I was on vacation in Mexico last week, and I just want to tell the family, if you don't believe they're important hate, Jason, I saw truck drivers riding around with Confederate flags on their truck in Guadalajara, Mexico. Don't think that when they tell you, the black media tell you that they important hate, I saw it with my own two eyes.
Now, that should tell you a lot right there because, and remember, I covered this also when we talk about, what was that, during the George Floyd protests. I talked about this before. With January 6, 2021, the Trump riots in the Capitol, you had Mexicans out there. I've been telling black folk about this for the longest time. Whether it was the George Floyd protests, you had Mexicans there. You had them in D.C. And yes, Confederate flags not hard to find. So yes, you're absolutely right. And this is why I tell you all, there's a reason why individuals like Joe Biden, they know what they're doing. They're going and they're grabbing folk from countries and places that they know. Joe Biden is an old white supremacist. He knows the places around the world and in this hemisphere that are hostile to black people. Remember, after World War II, The largest Nazi-friendly enclave was South America. There's a reason why they made that movie, The Boys from Brazil. And they talk about how Brazil's got the second largest black population in the world. But just understand that for decades and decades now, that has been known as a white supremacist enclave. That is the way it has been now for over a century. So when we hear about outright Nazis being welcomed, because remember, I want to say it was Mengele, who they believe Mengele made it to South America, and he wasn't the only one. There have been specials and documentaries that were done about how the Mossad had to go and go grab people or assassinate them in South America, correct, in Argentina and other places, not just Brazil, not just Argentina, but in other places. So when I hear about Nazi flags in South America, just understand during World War II, South America was fully on board with Nazism. Your first question has to be why you're not Anglos. And this is why we tell you white supremacy is not a race, it is a religion. It is a belief system. So whether it is South America with their Nazi flags or Mexico with their Confederate flags, South America did not create the Nazi flag. It didn't create the swastika, but it grabbed onto it as quickly as it could for what it represents. And Mexico did not create the Confederate flag, but as you can see, it latched onto that as quickly as it could.
And one other thing, that thing about black folks attacking Asians, that shit was all over the news down there. Every damn news station in Mexico I turned on, they kept showing them same 2 or 3 little people. That guy with the pink shirt and the hat in New York, and one other one. They just kept saying how we down here attacking Asians, we attacking Asians. But they ain't say nothing about them Asian enclaves they got down there in Guadalajara. If you've never been outside of this country, go to Guadalajara. Right out the main road coming out of the airport, there's an Asian and there's an all-white enclave. I had to drop to take me to them, where it's nothing but Asians and nothing but damn white folks pushing that damn lie about we up here attacking Asians.
White supremacy is global. I have been trying to tell people that for the longest time. We tend to have useless conversations because folks don't want to accept it. White supremacy is global. And but what I mean by that is it's already there. Anywhere on this planet that you wish to go, it's already there. It's already waiting for you when you get there. You're not going to go there and find a pristine place. And, well, we can just keep white supremacy out here. We'll be all right. White supremacy is everywhere. It is global. And any place that you can go to, it has already set up shop. If there's an airport, white supremacy is already there. Anywhere you can go on this planet, if there is an airport, if there is a freeway, white supremacy either built it or is already there, waiting for you. And you're going to get there and have delusions in your head that things are going to be different because you're not in Mobile, Alabama or whatever. And then you get there and it's like, I'll be damned. And so what tends to take people off guard is they say, well, they didn't experience our American history. They didn't have to. White supremacy is global, and it has been global now for centuries, not decades. It's already there. So thank you very much for reporting on that, brother. Thank you very much for bringing that news back to us here. This is why we are the black media. But yes, he's absolutely right about that. And I'm glad he gave you specific locations so you can see that for yourselves. Caller from area code 305. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What they do with TBA is One Love 305 out of Miami.
One Love out of Miami. What's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, man. First thing I want to do first off is come to you graciously and humbly and apologize. I called in 2 weeks ago on your toxic masculinity program, and I brought up some stuff about your mods. I want to apologize to you and your beautiful mods, Miss D. Tubman and Miss Steph. First of all,
no need, brother. It's don't count it. No need, but thank you very much. But don't count it.
Correct, and I appreciate the way you handle that situation. but I do want to stay on topic on what you're bringing up tonight because you on fire tonight. You're on fire tonight, TVA. I want to bring up something that you said that was subtle but very intricate. When you brought up Laura Ingraham with that cross, they absolutely did that on purpose. When you consider the white supremacists, and contrary to us as a people, they look at the 150-year program when we've been kept out of everything for so long. We look at right now. That cross, if you just do research and go into the ADL, that cross is all through the Anti-Defamation League. It's in hospitals, it's on ambulances, it's on fire trucks. I was a volunteer fireman for a year and a half. I left because how supremacist they are. But that cross was there on purpose. That you said that in passing, but it was very detrimental. The second thing that you, PBT, as well as Neely mentioned, is that the white female is the gatekeeper of white supremacists. And if we sit there and send our kids to their schools and we look at what they put in front of us as the older white male PBA as the face of white supremacy, then we're missing what white supremacy is. They put it right in front of us, and we send our kids to the white women. When the white women, I'm gonna try to be subtle, sit there, fix dinner, clean the house, and lick on and lay up with the person, the race soldier, who's gonna kill us in 5 to 10 years.
Oh no, brother! Now I'll go even further with you on that. They'll sit here and lick on and lay up with the black males, because that's what white supremacy understands. That a white female face tends to disarm a lot of black folk, and it disarms black males and it disarms black females. Black females tend to fall in line with white mommy. They tend to fall in line with white mommy. So just understand, you're correct in what you're saying there, but in reality, they understand that a white female face tends to disarm the dark masses. We tend to sit there and want to sit up here and debate with them and negotiate because we tell ourselves she's not as dangerous. Because we understand. For example, you all remember the rule of thumb. We have to remind you all that, remember, the first slaves were white women. They were the first legal property of white men in European society. They were the first legal property. And when you talk about things like the rule of thumb, which allowed you the ability to, quote unquote, chastise your wife with an object no thicker than your thumb, just understand, they were the first property. And you would think throughout this history and whatnot that it would have dawned on them, okay, where's the real problem coming from? So yes, with their so-called women's movement, they were not trying to eliminate white supremacy. They were trying to eliminate white male oppression. And then you realize this isn't a fight to destroy white supremacy. This is a fight over who will control it. And now that you realize what they are really fighting for, then you realize that when you see Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden, understand that is the ideal. You really touched on something here, One Love. Very good thing you called in here. That is the ideal balance of white supremacy going forward. That, in their minds, is the ideal. John McCain and Sarah Palin were the archetype of how white supremacy idealizes itself going into the future. That you have an older white male of experience and wealth and power and influence, and a younger white female of looks and vigor and charisma and sex appeal. And that to them is the perfect combination, assuming, of course, she's still of childbearing years. So as far as idealized, of course, just understand idealized. I'm not saying in fact, but idealized, that to them is the perfect balance. That's the perfect combination. So the white man in the driver's seat and the white woman ensuring that control. That to them is the perfect balance of the two. So when you see Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson, two white men sandwiched around Laura Ingraham, I know, try not to get too much of that visual in your heads, but when you see that, it makes a little more sense. When you take a look at Rupert Murdoch and how he put together the Fox News channel, it makes a little more sense. When you see Chuck Schumer on the one hand and Joe Biden on the other, with Nancy Pelosi sandwiched between the two of them, it starts to make more sense to you now of what they envision the future to be. So at the beginning of the 20th century, white women had to fight for women's suffrage. Now, the white society understands that they're more powerful with white women involved. So what they've done is deputize them and make them the ministers of disinformation so that you're to be disarmed. Because, of course, take a look at these two women on your screen. I mean, they're both two powder puffs. I mean, they couldn't stop a runaway cotton ball. So certainly they must be harmless, right? And that's the idea that you're supposed to have. Take a look at how soft and demure and feminine with their fake eyelashes and their Botox injections. Because like this Governor Noem, I don't know what she used to do, but she reminds, I'm not going to lie, I don't know a whole lot about her because I don't really follow South Dakota like that. But I'm trying to remember if I read something like, is she another one of these beauty pageant contestants? I don't know. The chat, folks in the chat will probably know there. But she strikes me as being one of these beauty pageant contestant types. And I'm thinking I heard something like that about her. That this is basically another Sarah Palin, essentially. She was elected simply because, just like Keisha Bottom-B. But this is another one of these Sarah Palins. She was elected because she was relatively young, white, and female, and as that may be. So, yeah, when you take a look at these things, it makes a little more sense to you when you consider it in that regard. So this is what I meant by white supremacy in a candy coating. They put white women to deliver the message, and they say it's so soft and subtle. And, you know, I mean, the governor should be looking out for our people. And, you know, it's a public safety issue. And I'm hiring police from 41 states, you know, Mississippi, Alabama. Tennessee.
It's just like you said.
And that makes it go down.
Disarm us, and they're soft. They're soft, so they disarm us. That's why I say it's brilliant, TBA. And what we have to do is recognize that. That's what I'm telling you. You so on fire tonight with this, man. And that's why I apologized earlier, because that was off code. Because it wasn't on the topic, and it wasn't putting us forward. What I did 2 weeks ago, and I'm a very vigilant follower of you. And that's why I apologize. And if I could just say this last thing, because what you're doing is so great and so needed, is that you created a platform to, as you always say, we don't tell them our plan. So don't call and ask, what should we do? Because we're not going to discuss the plan in front of the enemy. But what we need to do is use the platform for what it's set up for, and that's to prepare. So we have to use this as a microphone. And I wanted to just warn all of us that 420, Mr. Black, is not, I mean, to the brigade, the B1 brigade, it is not the smoke weed free day. That is to disarm us, as you were saying, to disarm us. Who's the weakest opponent? The opponent who's not looking for nothing and so relaxed. 420 is Hitler's birthday. That's why all of these things are spiking. These white supremacist attacks are spiking. Today is the 17th. Watch yourself for Tuesday. Sunday, something's going to happen. Monday, you're going to run a dry one. And then Tuesday is going to be somewhere 6-7 states over. Everybody keep your head on the swivel. Jason, you own it tonight. Man, I appreciate you. B1 Black First, you own it tonight. Do your thing, bro.
Well, thank you very much here. Everybody's talking about 420 here, but white supremacists talking about 411. And that's the thing we need to, that's a difference in perspectives. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. And yes, I am aware about Ron DeSantis down there, the faux Latino governor of Florida, who's sitting up here now. They want to advance, a bill to criminalize protesters and whatnot. So yes, I'm very well aware of that. folks, they're circling the wagons, and I told you, everybody, the Democrats and the Republicans are trying to lock down as many draconian white supremacist enforcing laws as they possibly can, as quickly as they can. Everybody's bum rushing the doors right now. Caller from area code 612, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yo, what up? It's Hendrix from Minneapolis.
Hendrix from Minneapolis. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, enlighten people on the climate that the temperature out here right now. They got National Guard on every block, mostly where there's black people at. So they got National Guard and they got the police out here, out in Minneapolis when the protests and the riots and shit is happening out in Brooklyn Center. So I talked to one of the National Guards like yesterday, and I asked them why they were stationed out here. And he told me that they was just stationed out here just in case there was an uprising or something like that going on in Minneapolis.
Well, that's
and
the thing. That's the thing right there. Up until now, you know, they are used to black folk turning up in other areas. And up until now, Minneapolis was seen as a place where Negroes were, you know, domesticated and were really subservient, and they've really surprised people. They've really surprised them up there. So just understand, white supremacy doesn't like surprises. White supremacy likes being in charge. It likes being in control. It likes knowing its Negroes better than the Negroes know themselves. So with all these surprises and curveballs in their behavior and their reactions that keep getting thrown at them, just understand they're going to take extra measures here now. They're taking extra measures. So yes, they're all over the place. And if you got the National Guard up there like that and things, that's because they're trying to put in a lemon twist where the Derek Chauvin case is concerned. They're going to try to minimize. They're going to give him some. They're going to give him something, but they're going to try to minimize it. Is what's going to happen. So if folks want to know what my prediction is, they're going to give him something, but they're going to try to minimize it. Is what they're going to try to do. And they're bracing themselves for that already. That's what I'm saying. They're already sitting up here putting up barricades before the damn trial had gotten started and whatnot. So that lets you know from the beginning that they already huddled together and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And this is what we need to be prepared for. But by the same token, though, brother, I have to say this is good. It is. Because black people have demonstrated they are extremely hard-headed, that as soon as black folk have an opportunity to sit down, they go home and start playing dumb again. That's how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were able to slither their way through the open-air cesspool that is Atlanta. And black folk tend to not really want to deal with white supremacy unless white supremacy has got its boots actively on your neck. So unfortunately, we're going to have them in place blatantly, guns out, pointed at you, for months or even years. It's going to have to become a constant state of oppression so that black people will start to adopt a constant state of vigilance.
Right. Another thing is, like, you know, they like the demeanor of these National Guards, because, you know, pretty much they just weekend warriors. They're not really the Marines. They're not really, they are the military, but they're not really, you know, military like that. They're like, you know, pretty much it's just a job to them. But at the same time, they got AR-15s out. They standing on the corners. They got a cop car with them. They like on both corners, and it's like, you know, I don't know if it's an intimidation tactic or whatever they're trying to do. I think the mayor called them to be out here or whatever it is. But
they did.
I'm saying, like, they're not intimidating nobody, but at the same time, like, that shit is not happening in Minneapolis. It's in Brooklyn Center. So when that shit is happening in Brooklyn Center, all the riots and fools, y'all was nowhere to be found.
No.
Just like
you gotta understand. You have to understand how sociology works. I know it seems weird, but you gotta understand how sociology works. The National Guard is in Minneapolis because Minneapolis is what set off Brooklyn Center. So when you take a look at psychology, when you take a look at the actual psychology of this, because understand white supremacy is rooted in psychology. It's rooted in controlling people's thoughts. The plantations were a psychological experiment to show that you could enslave somebody, you know, have a Pavlov's dog response. That I can keep you here even after I remove the shackles from your ankles. to control your mind. And what they understood is that Minneapolis lit the fire, and that Minneapolis is already sitting on edge to begin with. So they're like, we'll be damned. It was already going to be a tough enough job to get Shaven out of here, to let him off the hook. Now, by the way, do you all realize we ain't talking about attacks on Asians anymore? Now we're back to talking about black folk. The media all of a sudden is lost. They've lost the narrative. They lost it. We're back to talking about black people now. We're back to talking about what's been happening to black folk. We're back to talking about white supremacy now. The media has lost the plot. They've lost, as they say over there in Britain, they've lost the narrative. Now we're back in control of it. And what they are afraid of is that Brooklyn Center can set off Minneapolis or vice versa, one or the other. But Minneapolis is what lit up Brooklyn Center to begin with. Now they're worried that, if things don't go correctly, if justice is not served in Minneapolis, then the fact that the fires are already burning so closely over there in Brooklyn Center, it would be very, very easy for that to reignite Minneapolis again. Very easy. Because remember, with the George Floyd situation, that started there and then lit up other cities around the country and around the world. Understand, white supremacy would have loved it if it would have been treated like an isolated incident, but it wasn't. Because everybody has a similar story where they're from. So when Minneapolis lit up, it ignited a circuit around the country. And they understood that. But remember, we've seen this several times before, brother, with the riots in the 60s. And the riots in the 70s. Yeah. And then after Mike Brown and Eric Garner, we've seen this over and over again. So now it was just George Floyd. It was just the first time that you saw everything lighting up in concert like that. Before it went in sequence. Now this is the first time you saw it lighting up in concert. And they're afraid that this will be what happens again. So understand, in your mind, it's like, well, it ain't even like that. And that's what scares me. When you say that it's not even like that and whatnot in Minneapolis, that actually scares me. Because that tells me Minneapolis is lulling itself back to sleep.
Not like that. I'm saying that, they just putting in I'm not saying it's not like that because the temperature is. They know what it is. That's why they got it. But I'm just saying, that they cowardly, bro. Because when shit go down out here, they ain't nowhere to be found. Like the National Guard, if they happen right down here, right now on the street I'm on right now, they won't be around here. They won't be out there in white communities, policing them and doing whatever they do.
Well, I hate to interrupt you there, but don't misunderstand that either. When you say they'll be in the white communities, what you really mean is they'll be trying to contain you. Because that's the thing I want y'all to understand. There's too many of you. Prison guards understand this dynamic. Prison guards understand that if the inmates outnumber you anywhere from 4-1 to 10-1. If they ever wanted to rise up against you in mass, they would overrun you in a matter of seconds. Police departments have always understood this. The citizens outnumber you 1,000-1. If they wanted to overrun you, they could do it in a matter of seconds. And the United States military is painfully aware of this, which is why you had things like the King Alfred Plan and whatnot. They have always understood if the significant amount of the black citizenry ever wanted to rise up, they would overrun the National Guard or the U.S. military in a matter of seconds. That is why J. Edgar Hoover targeted Dr. King specifically after the March on Washington. When he saw hundreds of thousands of black folk there, he was like, this is it. The moment we were afraid of, those are enough people to overrun the military. They can overrun the United States Congress right now. Trump's people actually went for it, and that was just a few thousand of them. Dr. King had enough folk to take over the United States government right at that moment if they chose to do so. They could have turned, walked up those Capitol steps, and game over. So in other words, your government continues to exist at the whim of black people, and that cannot be allowed. So that is why it is necessary to institute barbaric practices, overt violence, make it where any white person can kill a black person, deputize everyone, because you don't actually have enough formal control forces to get the job done. And if you all turned up, they're going to be there for a minute to make it look good, but then they're all going to fall back, and they're basically going to let y'all have what you want and fall back to the white neighborhoods, because when things are over, they're afraid the white folk are going to be upset about it. But all they're going to work on is containing you. That's it. They're not going to work on fighting you. They will only work on containing you, because in the words of James Baldwin, the fire this time is different. The fire this time is different.
It is.
What is your sense about what black folk are feeling up there in Minneapolis as far as the Chauvin trial? What are the people saying up there?
Yeah, we just trying to figure out, whether he get convicted or not, because the defense came out, they really against, they really pretty much just demolished his whole little the prosecutor, his defense, Derek Chauvin's defense. And we all just everybody's watching the trial. Like, we all see that they really have no backing for David or Derek, whatever the fuck his name is, Chauvin. And like he just pretty much a fish out of water. Like, everybody sees that he was wrong. Even the police chief came out, and the police are coming out against him. Like, everybody knows that he's wrong. So we just trying to see what the outcome might be. And if he gets convicted, that's good. That's justice served. We're gonna try to see if he gets convicted. But if he don't, then they already got the courthouse. They've been had the courthouse blocked off. They got like 2 fences with barbed wire. They've been had that before he even started. They've been had that blocked off, and we just trying to figure out what it is, man. Because I don't know, man. Like, it's just real. Like, the tension up here, like, it's real thick. Like right now, they know it. They know it could be just war. Like, it could just go down. Like, because I don't know, man. They know the temperature up here, man. That's why they got these National Guards out here. They're just trying to keep the peace. That's what they say. They just trying to keep the peace. That's what the National Guard told me. We just trying to keep peace. They know what it is, man. But I don't know, man. I don't know. We just trying to wait on it and see what happens. Hopefully he get convicted and justice is served. Truthfully, like, that's all I can say about it. But if he don't, man, I don't really know.
Well,
it's just gonna happen again.
I think you worded it very well. If he gets convicted, everybody goes home. If he doesn't, well, I don't know what happens next. What's going to happen next, Mr. Black Authority? If we don't convict him, what'll happen? I don't know what's going to happen. I have no earthly idea what will happen. If I know what will happen if you do, but I don't really know what will happen if you don't. Guess we'll just all find out together, won't we? Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. No, brothers and sisters, I don't know what will happen either. We've been reviewing your YouTube channel, and I wasn't inciting anything. Well, you said, I don't know what will happen. I don't know. I have no idea. Now, I do have a pretty good idea what will happen if justice is served. If justice is served, everybody celebrates in the streets and goes home. But if justice is not served, well, what happens, happens. And it's your fault. Caller from area code 562. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, dude, it's Ryan from Long Beach. I'm calling back again. It's real funny that they put that thing out there in Texas, because I'd be out there all the time visiting my cousins and shit. I know they always be having rags on it. That's kind of suspect, because like the OG from Texas said, they don't really got gangs like that. So that's kind of an odd little thing they did, because my cousins just wear rags because they like how us in the West Coast be doing that,
Well, I mean, but you don't have organized street gangs like that in Texas.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah, they just do it because it's a trend, how
well,
it is.
I mean, no. What I'm saying is, I understand what you're saying, but you can't name for me an organized street gang out of Dallas. I remember I used to live in Dallas.
No, that's what I'm saying.
There isn't one that we can actually name. So now I can name for you some of the Latino gangs and some of the white ones, but as far as black ones, we can't really name that. So what they did, and I'm glad why the representative from Texas invoked that to say, well, if we're going to talk about the Crips, let's talk about the Klan, because what you're trying to invoke is organized street gangs, which of course has always been used by the media synonymously with black folk. But in reality, that's not really like that out there. Now, here's my point. My point, though, is that law enforcement can label you a gang member. And if you're from California, you all are very familiar with the gang injunction laws. You all have the most draconian gang injunction laws out there, especially in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. No,
but remember, it's the police who do that. Now, that isn't even something that requires a law or a judge. It is the police who can determine or label you a member and say that. And if that occurs, then you could find yourself in trouble. So just understand, now we're dealing with some extrajudicial things. We're dealing with some things that put the legislature will leave it up to the local police departments to regulate who is allowed to exercise these privileges and who isn't. So if the police say either that you are a gang member, or in California, once again, that's why they have the term gang affiliated. So now we can move beyond if you are actually a registered gang member, if you are affiliated. So Texas is showing that they're starting to understand the value of adopting some of these things that have been pioneered in California. So you make a good point about it. I just want you to understand exactly where it's going to go from there. It has some similarities, but they're actually going to pick this up and utilize it in some ways that folks in Texas are not familiar with it being. So even though they don't have any real black street gangs, you're going to start hearing that word. What they're telegraphing to you is if they see an opening, you're going to start hearing that term invoked more and more now.
No, exactly. That's why it's really weird to me, because like out here, like we're kind of used to it. Like my dad and like your age group went through that, so they let us know. But like that's why it's so odd to me that they're doing it in Texas. It's like they're purposely trying to target young black people so they can just easily lock them up with guns and everything. Like this is typical stop and frisk 101 yet again. Like they find a guy with a gun. Oh, he was trying to do something with it. Oh, he has some on him. Blah blah blah. Now he's locked up for 10 years. Don't know what happened.
Oh yeah, just remember, in Texas, remember they were talking about this before a couple of years ago. I talked to you about this then. That Texas wants to make. There was folks in Texas trying to put through a 3 strikes misdemeanor bill in Texas. That if you are convicted of a misdemeanor 3 times, that adds up to a felony. Yeah, folks have forgotten about that. By the way, they were trying to push that, and as you just saw with this gun bill, that thing could now rear its head again. If you are convicted of a misdemeanor 3 times, and 3 misdemeanors could add up to a felony.
Yeah, wow. Well, one more thing is I'm from Long Beach, so I'm not that far from LA, and if I catch some white supremacists out trying to disrespect anyone's memorial site, I mean, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know. I may have to stand my ground. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot I don't know tonight, brother. There's just a lot I don't know.
Yeah.
When they want to ask us what actions have you taken, I don't know. I don't know.
Thank you very much, Shane.
I don't know.
Talking to you.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again. Let me get caller from area code 936. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's James calling out of Lufkin.
James out of Lufkin, Texas. Well, brother, are you getting ready to enjoy your right to carry a handgun without a license?
No, I'm not falling for that.
You mean well, slow down. Let me make sure I have some details on that. Exactly what do you mean you're not falling for it?
Well, in a situation like this, convenience is just not better. Like previous callers said, I mean, it's going to be a trick bag for us. I recommend everybody just going ahead and taking the class, spending that $150, getting some good training, get some good range time, because I mean, I've been following this. I've been following this for a while, and they check all the boxes. It's going to get passed. They've been waiting for this, and these politicians, they know their constituents, and they know that these white supremacists around here are already carrying illegally, so they're just covering them. This is not meant for us; it's meant for them.
Well, I mean, but here's the real. You are correct about that. My thing about the black folk in Texas is, I used to live in Dallas. I want you all to understand. Don't take that lying down. Don't take that lightly. Just understand where this is really going, and I want y'all to be prepared. That is very, very important to me. So I want you all to be prepared. They are letting you know that they're deputizing the state, and as a black person, that they're letting you know that you're going to be the target. They couldn't even make it out of the house before they let you know that no, we're targeting black people with this. This is about targeting black people. In what way? Really, it's about confining or targeting black people because it'll be in smaller places like Lufkin, smaller places like Tyler, Longview, smaller places like those, Odessa, because what most people don't know is Texas really only has a few major, it's a gigantic piece of geography. It really is. And but outside of those 5 cities there, really, I mean, Dallas, Houston, Austin, throw in El Paso and Galveston. But really, outside of the big 5, Texas is not, I mean, you're really dealing with rural territory, to be totally honest, in comparison. Those are really the only ones that really built up like that. You're really that, and once you realize that, black folk really only have a presence in Dallas, Houston, and Austin. Now, of course, we'll count the Galveston area as well, but really, black folk don't have a presence in El Paso. I know, I've been, and black folk only have a relative presence in Austin. It's not like black folk are running anything. The only place where black people have any considerable clout is in Houston, and even in Dallas now, black folk are basically losing a little bit that they had. So outside of that, this is really about containing black people in the meantime, in the smaller places. So black people are contained in the larger metropolitan areas and are outlawed in the rest of the whole damn state. The rest of the whole state, you're outlawed. And this is to let you know that these folks have the right at any time to do anything. Now, how old are you?
And it'd be I'm white and I say so. I'm 30. I'm about to turn 31.
Okay, I want you all to be very, very aware that this is the world you're going into. This is the world you're going into.
Yeah, I realize that.
I can't stress that enough. I think the biggest mistake that I've always told you all, the biggest mistake the Black Wall Streets made is that they were not prepared to defend themselves against an obvious, clear, and present threat. And when they start getting together and making laws like this, and making it clear in their committees that you are on their mind, it wasn't enough they were making these laws. They had to admit that you were on their mind when they were making it. And that's the real threat I want you all to get. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Folks, I want you to understand that as black people, it is one thing to see these outrageous draconian things being put into effect here, but it is another thing to know that when they were putting this through, when they were planning it and everything, you were on their mind. And they let you know that black people were on their minds. So when you hear about laws that allow people to go around killing folk and you're on their mind, take that threat seriously. Take it seriously. Caller from area code 724. You're on live with Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? This is Timmerson. I'm calling from Denver, Colorado. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
All right, Timmerson from Denver. What's on your mind?
Yo, first of all, let me just say, you are killing it tonight. I've been listening to you for a while, but wow, I'm just amazed at what I'm hearing. But I've been trying to really talk about this, or like, what's going on is, I was just saying it, like, basically, there's been this insidious idea since as far back as America has been a country that black
people need to be contained from the greater society for the greater society's good. And it's an insidious idea that has its roots in slavery and colonization, but it rears its ugly head ever presently as time goes on, and we're seeing it manifesting itself now. It's like in the media narrative, and now with the unfortunate killing of Dante Wright, the topic is now on police brutality against Black people, but before it was on this Stop Asian Hate thing, and they wanted to, the media was trying to target us as the main perpetrators of this, when in actuality, the main perpetrators were white, but this white supremacy deflected on itself, going back to that insidious idea that Black people need to be contained from the greater society for its good. And as messed up as it sounds, they believe this is for our own good too. And that's another insidious concept that manifests itself from slavery and colonization, that Black people needed to be civilized through violence and dominance, which is just, again, insidious. But yeah.
Well, take the threat seriously. This is no longer hyperbole. It is not hypothetical. Take the threat seriously is my words to everybody tonight. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get call from area code 317. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing, Jason? My name is Marcus from Indianapolis.
Marcus from Indianapolis. Well, brother, they doing things up there. What's the latest y'all have heard about that shooting at the FedEx facility?
Yeah, well, you know how it is, man. They just now releasing the photo of, you know, what color he was, and we pretty much know here what that's a white boy gang, the warehouses. And you know, I've been listening to you all night, and one thing that I noticed, we did that gun bill thing like in February here in Indiana, and you only got to be 18 to get you a pistol here. So that agenda been on the books, and then all of a sudden I heard that Biden talking about the mass shooting and he wanted to eradicate guns, and I'm starting to see all the different states passing a bill, like a domino effect.
Well, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again, folks. There, like I said, that's the situation. Also, I've been following as well. Let me get call of area code 708. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
To get you a pistol here.
Caller from 708 has been abducted. Caller from area code 502. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mark Sullivan calling from Huntsville, Alabama.
Mark from Huntsville, what's on your mind?
I wanted to see, the timeline of when the China delegation met with the U.S. delegation. I wanted to see if maybe that's related to some of this legislation going on at the state level when China told the U.S. to stop slaughtering Black folks. I don't know if that was a benefit for us, but it definitely, kind of put them on notice. So
Maybe
I'm just wondering if
thank you very much for giving us a call. I'm not really sure what your point is there, but maybe it did. Caller from area code 863. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How you doing, Jason? My name is Daniel. I'm calling from Lakeland, Florida.
Daniel from Lakeland, Florida. Well, they know about mass shootings there. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. So a big question. You got all these mass shootings going on. You got all these issues of blacks being killed by police. And none of these Negroes who told us that we had to vote for Joe Biden is showing up. It's like Black people in government are absolutely silent. It's like they completely disappear. And before, Biden was going to be our savior from all this, which we know is a lie, because 95 crime bill and everything else he did with Black people before he got elected. But, you know what I'm saying? It's like all these Black celebrities, everybody's silent about, hey, why not? What about Kamala Harris? And then when they appointed this Negro to be head of the Department of Defense, it's like a cover, like you pointed out during your last show, how America's always worried about how we look to the rest of the world. And if they do have some type of civil unrest where they're going to put a National Guard to take out black people, they got this image that they're not targeting black people because they got a Negro heading the military targeting black people. So you got a silent government, and then you got a situation where the Secretary of Defense, being black, when they do pass martial law to come and kill us and largely group us up, the optics look like, well, we can't be killing black people because look, the Department of Defense, the Secretary of Defense is black, and the Vice President is black. So you got the imagery from the outside world looking in, was like, no, they can't be targeting black people. And then you got here within our own government where all these civil rights retreads are silent about all this crap going on.
Okay, well, everyone should take the threat seriously as well. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Folks, let's keep our comments a little bit briefer here. Let me get caller from area code 512. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Doug calling from Austin.
Okay, you say Doug?
Yeah.
All right, Doug from Austin, what's on your mind?
Yeah, Jay, man, this goes back to gentrification. So they gentrified the black folks, especially here in Austin, as a rap. And I was going through the archives and seeing the piece on Hotel's Barbecue, and he did so, by the way. So we got gentrified to these small.
Oh, he sold his place? Wait a minute, he sold his place?
Yeah, he sold.
Well, I kind of predicted that too, I imagine.
Yeah, he did.
Let's hear. Hey,
Yeah,
all I'm gonna say is let's hear for the old niggas. That's all I can say there. So, for everybody who's forgotten, he's talking about that barbecue joint that was in Austin, I think it was, and I forget the name of the place. I forget the name of it. Everybody's Sam's. Everybody's heard me talk about it before and whatnot. So they've been leaning on them for years and years and whatnot. And I want to say at one point the bidding had gotten up to like $7 million or some crazy number like that. So, yeah, I'd be lying if I told you I was surprised to hear it. I predicted it the whole time. So, not a great thing to hear. Not a great thing to hear. But as black folk, we believe in selling our inheritances. Meanwhile, Chinatown sells nothing. So if you want to know why Chinatown is still here 100 years later, it's because they never sell their inheritances. Black people, on the other hand, are experts at selling out the children's inheritances and whatnot. And, that type of treasonous behavior is what happens. So.
Yeah, well, Jay, my family's part of that. We sold 2 of our properties here in Austin, and one on the east side, and right across the street, we built a whole village. And we sold it to all the cousins, and everybody wanted their $2,000 a piece. So that's what it is. And we all on the outskirts, Killeen, Waco, and that's partially why they're doing that. Because we get pushed out, and if you ever been through Waco, Gillenboro, Frankfurt, West, man, that's, those are white supremacist enclaves. So this is what I feel is all about. And all the brothers, if you do get your CHL, they run your plates, damn, they harass you. So it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. So, you kind of just gotta, keep the Kit Kat in where you can.
Well, definitely I'll keep that in mind. Like I say, I mean, I know, and as far as Sam's is concerned, I'll have to see about confirming that. Are you sure that he has actually sold it? Because I just did a Google search. For it, and I do not see that.
It's still running that Sam's. As far as last I heard, that he did so, it was for somewhere around 11 million.
Okay. Well, I'll keep looking for it. It's not enough for me to say right now, but I did just do a brief Google search for that to see if that was the case. I haven't seen that.
I might be wrong. I might need to check a couple other sources, but let me know.
Well, I haven't seen that just yet here, but I definitely want us to keep an eye on that kind of thing because that is important. The only time they name big numbers to black folk is to get us out of town. And the real problem I have is just understand if somebody's offering you $5 million, that is because what you have is worth $50 million if you value it. So I don't want anybody taking that lightly. That's the kind of thing we want to be sure about here. So I don't want to condemn anything until I'm certain about it. If I see anything to the contrary, I'll let everybody know. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Yeah, because we have a bad habit of selling out our children's legacies. We have a bad habit of doing that, and we certainly don't want to do that. But I am unable to confirm that. I did a check on that. I don't see anything that confirms that yet. If I do, I'll let you all know. But I haven't seen anything that confirms that yet. Let me get called from area code 832. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jason, this is Big.
Caller from 832 is slow on the gun. Caller from area code 202. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Jim, calling from Buffalo, New York.
Jim from Buffalo. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, in all the negative information that I'm hearing concerning us, of course, there's one light note that I'm biasly going to share with you as far as is concerned. What they call the Carroll Law is local. This officer was fired unjustified, and she was helping out the suspect at the time. The individual.
I posted. Okay, sir. Our time is brief, but I am familiar with the case that you're referring to. I posted about that on my Facebook page already. She was a police officer. 13 years ago, she was stopping a white police officer from brutalizing somebody, and long story short and whatnot, they wound up firing her a year short of her 20 years that she would have needed to be able to get her pension. And she has spent the previous 15 years fighting the case. So, yes, I am very well aware about that case. I posted about this before and everything. So, yes, as Black folk, when white police officers get reinstated and everything taken care of within a matter of months. But if you're Black, you just need to understand you are not a police officer. You are a Black police officer. And the rules for you will only be slightly different than the rules for the rest of Black society, i.e., you are only allowed to enforce the law or violate the law when it comes to Black people. When you attempt to do this with white people and you attempt to enforce and uphold the law with white folk, including other police officers, watch how the rules get changed and all of a sudden you're in a bizarro world and then you meet reality that there is only one law of the land. I am white and I say so. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Folks, I don't know why some people think I don't know about things or whatnot, but that's not on the topic of what we're discussing here tonight. But by the way, folks, yes, we are the Black media. Let me get called from area code 612. You're on live with Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello, Jim. Okay, folks are not sitting by their phones and whatnot here, so we've been on for 2.5 hours. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here now. I told you all it was going to be a fully stacked program here tonight, and that's exactly what it's been. It's been fully stacked about that. The threat is real, and the threat is everywhere. Every discussion is going to turn from what it pretends to be about to what it's actually about. So when they discuss illegal aliens, the subject very quickly turns to, now what we're going to do about Black folk. And when they discuss, quote, guns, then it turns out, now how can we use these against Black folk? Everything in American society is really a covert, code-worded conversation about us. That's the point I'm making. Everything in American society, in politics, when they talk about these things, we are the real subject of discussion. That is what I'm trying to tell you. They only pretend it's not about us. But the subject of discussion is always about us. It's always about us. They only pretend that that's not what it's about. But give them enough time, let them talk, and the subject of discussion turns to what they really want to talk about, which is how to target us. Tonight's program has been my service to you as the Black media to let you know that we take the threat seriously, that you need to be fully informed about it. And it's real. And it's real. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on either Cash App or PayPal. Thank you very much for your support. It is very much appreciated, and I thank you for that. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, over 120,000 subscribers and rising. We are not a little thing. If you have not clicked that red subscribe button, you want to do so now. YouTube has us under a shadow ban. And the reason that they've done that is because of what you heard here tonight. This is the type of groundbreaking, exploratory journalism that you will receive nowhere else. The corporations will not do it because they are against us. Your bootleg media will not do it because they work for the very white supremacist corporations that we are fighting against. So this is the Black media. Make sure you click that subscribe button because it is important, because it aggregates our numbers. When we can tell people that we have over 120,000 subscribers, that lets them know we're not some fringe element out there with just a couple of YouTube views making it through the day with bubblegum and baling wire. We are a major media platform. We carry a lot of weight. Ask Kamala Harris if that's true or not. So click that red subscribe button to stay up to date on what we do. And for all of you who are listening to this either live or recorded, share it, share it, share it. YouTube has us under a shadow ban. They do not suggest us. They do not recommend us to people. They don't put us in the recommendeds. And we have violated none of the official community guidelines of YouTube, which means that we have violated the I'm white and I say so rule. That you are upsetting the balance and the power of white supremacy. We violated that rule. That's the rule that we violated. So what we are doing here is I want you to understand your help with us helps us to get this out to more people. Share this. They need to hear this. They need to have the details of it. We articulate it and encapsulate it so that you don't have to. If you have not been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go there now. Check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work that I referenced earlier in the broadcast. 7 a.m. Gentrified and Race War. All one of a kind, all groundbreaking, concrete information that you will receive nowhere else. There's a reason that they're bestsellers. So go to blackchannelfilms.com, get it on Amazon for DVD, streaming, or rental. Blackchannelfilms.com. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.